Hello and welcome to Justice. I'm Judge Jeanine Pirro. Breaking news tonight on the growing crisis in Iraq. The Pentagon today moving the aircraft carrier U.S.S. George H.W. Bush to the Arabian Gulf, closer to Iraq. This as the president refuses to commit to any course of action. All the while, ISIS militant forces continue to march toward the capital of Baghdad. More on the Iraq crisis, but first to my open. You know, I've spent a great deal of time over the last 2 years analyzing and criticizing what I believe are major blunders by the Obama administration, more interested in winning elections, changing the demographics of our nation, and creating a socialized state where dependency is the norm, than protecting the safety and security of hard-working Americans. Now, you know me. Most of the time, I'm fearless. I've spent my life fighting, investigating, prosecuting, and sentencing the worst of the worst. But tonight, I'm worried. You may not know where places like Baghdad, Aleppo, Tehran, or Fallujah are. But if you don't think that what happens there matters to you, you're wrong. And I don't care if you live in Beaumont, Texas, New York City, or Anaconda, Montana. You need to be afraid. Because of his feckless foreign policy, President Obama, a man with no foreign policy experience, who doesn't learn a thing from his foreign policy blunders, a man who prefers to surround himself with political operatives, our nation, once the world's superpower, has been minimized on the world stage and is neither respected nor feared. Barack Obama has proven to Russia's Putin, to Syria's Assad, to Iran's Ayatollah, and Afghanistan's Karzai, they can cross any red line that he draws with impunity. The latest disaster, of course, the Bergdahl trade of 5 of the worst savages, terrorists who wear their 12 years at Gitmo as a badge of honor, once again sending a message of weakness. Our commander-in-chief has literally replenished the enemy in a time of war. But not to worry.
These 5 guys are not a threat to the United States. They are a threat to the safety and security of Afghanistan and Pakistan.
If they're not a problem, why did you keep them in Gitmo for 12 years? And if they're not a problem, why was your president afraid to tell Congress he was even letting them out? And today, another example of Obama's ineptitude. Americans summarily evacuated from Baghdad as a band of the worst barbaric terrorists marches from the north on toward Baghdad to reclaim Iraq. They released prisoners, and they've added thousands of fighters to their ranks as they move through the country. And they are the richest terror group in existence. 500,000 citizens have fled Mosul in fear of them. And as they continue their march, the U.S. moves an array of aircraft carriers and destroyers into the North Arabian Sea and the Persian Gulf. Now, we spent $1 trillion. The blood of 4,500 American men and women killed and 32,000 of us injured in Iraq. Yet Barack Obama left Iraq contrary to the advice of military leaders and those like Senator John McCain, who said he left too early, when McCain stated on the Senate floor 3 years ago that the decision to do a complete early pullout was dictated by politics, not our national security. And Senator McCain said that history would judge President Obama's leadership with the scorn and the disdain that it deserves. America left Iraq as a state not able to stand on its own. And the head of this band of savages is a man named Abu al-Baghdadi, the new Osama bin Laden, a man released by Obama in 2009 who started ISIS a year later. And when Baghdadi left Camp Bucca, where the worst of the worst were held in Iraq, he threatened his American jailers, saying, "I'll see you in New York." And as the nation of Iraq teeters on the brink of total destruction, there is no question that the march will inevitably continue toward the West and the United States. As though out of a movie, the march of the Sunni militants, along with ISIS troops, deemed even by al-Qaeda to be too militant, are letting criminals out of jail to add to their ranks, burning churches, beheading, crucifying, stoning, and shooting police and military, even civilians from the Maliki government. ISIS is dedicated to building an Islamic state dedicated to the slaughter and the massacre of the infidels. But Barack Obama is really tuned in.
The world is less violent than it has ever been. It is healthier than it has ever been. It is more tolerant than it has ever been.
And get this, although there were only 800 ISIS soldiers against 12,000 Iraqis trained by the United States, the Iraqis were so fearful they dropped their weapons, they dropped their uniforms, and they even left a bank open for plunder. And now ISIS has $500 million in its hands. The bottom line, the country of Iraq is another burning cauldron in the Middle East, being overrun by those who seek to create an Islamic caliphate that considers us infidels and is dedicated to the killing of non-believers and our destruction. Yes, indeed, you need to be worried. And that's my open. Now, earlier I spoke with Senator John McCain on the Iraq crisis. Senator, you said something very bold yesterday. You said that the president should get rid of his national security team, get a new one. And just tell me why you said that. I mean, there have been a lot of blunders, but now you've had it. You're fed up.
They've been a complete failure. These are the ones that I predicted that we would see a collapse in Iraq because we could have left troops behind. We could have left them as we did in Japan, in Germany, in Bosnia, as we did in Korea, as a stabilizing force. And I predicted when he pulled them all out that it would be doomed to failure. I predicted it 3 times, more than that. And so I think it's been an utter and total failure, both in Iraq and now it's going to be in Afghanistan. So we need a new team. We need David Petraeus. We need General Keane. We need the people that Ryan Crocker, Ambassador Crocker, the ones that won the war. What this administration is obscuring, we had that war won thanks to the surge and thanks to General Petraeus, and we blew it. And we took everybody out, and we didn't leave a residual force behind, and that's a tragedy because we lost over 4,000 brave young Americans.
Having lost those 4,000, more than 4,000 brave young Americans, does that demand that we go back in their honor, or does it mean, in your mind, that maybe we should call, just end it now, end our losses?
I think that the question is will these people be a threat to the United States of America? This group of ISIS, in the estimate of our Director of National Intelligence, will plan attacks on the United States of America. It has really almost nothing to do with the casualties. It has everything to do with the threat that they pose. We need to use airstrikes. Right now, if we don't do anything, then you will see the Iranians come in. And they're already in, and you'll see them in greater numbers if Maliki feels that he cannot get help from the United States. And Maliki should step down in favor of a coalition government that can bring Sunni and Shia together in a coherent response to this. The ISIS people already report have been executing people all over Mosul. Mm-hmm. They are the worst of the worst. Mm-hmm. Even the al-Nusra, one of the extremist groups, can't stand them.
And you'll see the rest of my interview with Senator McCain and why he thinks that the Taliban trade has put America at risk later. But first, developing tonight, radical insurgents in Iraq who have already taken over several major cities are now just miles from Baghdad. With me, Fox News military analyst Colonel David Hunt. Good evening, Colonel. Why is this happening? Why is this march happening?
There's a couple of reasons. This group, ISIS, which is about say 800 to up to 2,000 terrorists that you've already described, owns part of about 400 square miles They've been able to get part of this in Syria, and they came south. What happened is this terrorist organization was able to make army, at least one division of Iraqis to run away because Maliki, who's the prime minister, had fired all of the generals in the army that we spent $19 billion training. So it's a combination of ISIS gaining some momentum, Sunni-Shia conflict, and incompetence of the Maliki government, and a military that won't stand and fight.
All right, so now what we have is this march toward Baghdad, and as I understand it, they are about 60 miles from Baghdad right now. Did we know about this? I mean, all of a sudden, it seems like the White House was caught by surprise.
This activity starting in Mosul and going towards Baghdad, it's taken about 2 weeks. However, the national intelligence community for the last year, in writing, has been warning the White House that ISIS is going to be trouble. They have an agenda not just in Syria, where they've gained power, but in Iraq. The other part of this, of course, is Iran coming in to help, making them even more influential.
Well, Iran then, because they're right next door to Iraq, I mean, they see this vacuum as well, so they're going in as Shiites to help the Maliki Shiite government against the Sunnis, who are now aligned with ISIS, which is the worst of the worst.
Yes, and underlining this is a tribal nation. Sunni, Kurds, Shia, what the huge mistake we try to do is nationalize them. And we have still people talking about nationalizing and bringing them together. In my opinion, the top third of Iraq is gone. And it's a question of how much more that ISIS will take control of before probably Iran comes in to save the day. Bombing ISIS or killing all of ISIS won't cure it.
All right, Colonel David Hunt, stick around. We're going to come back to this. But coming up, breaking news on Bo Bergdahl and voting tonight's Instapoll. How does the Bergdahl trade and the crisis in Iraq affect America's security? Facebook or tweet me at Judge Jeanine.